Well, hello there. It's Dr. Isles, and I've got some news stories here from the internets deep from the lagoon. So, sharing some information that I think is important for myself and for other people that are interested. So, let's get right to it. If that's the best introduction that I'm going to do, so be it. So, first time for everything. So, let's give this a shot. Let's see how effective this is in this case. So my concern here, of course, is that you guys can no longer see the subtitles, unfortunately, but that's okay. We'll change those things around, and that's not a problem. You can see what's on the screen, and so that's the important part here. And so obviously the first story that's important to me is that China mainland has fully reopened to Macau and Hong Kong SARs, and they get some flight updates here. And so, starting on February 6th, the mainland will fully reopen its borders with Hong Kong SAR and the Macau SAR. And so, all the stuff here is good. And so, stuff at State Council has come through, inbound, and so on. There's Mr. Edgar Choi. So, they've got some information here about the flights that are now going to be coming in from all the different domestic areas here. So that's awesome. Thank you, OneTube, for putting this together. And so basically, in order to attract overseas visitors, Hong Kong is going to give away a lot of air tickets. So look for um, tickets to Hong Kong from different ports to be a lot cheaper because it's incentive. They want you to come to Hong Kong, spend some money, stay, those kind of things. So they're going to try to revamp after everything else that's going on in this case. Okay, so that was an important story, I think, for a lot of people that are interested. This is another one. WeChat's got an update for those of you that still have your WeChat, and so now they've got a second account with some updates for their indoor map and more. And essentially, this is trying to promote a work-life balance in the sense that you can have the same original phone number that you signed up with. It's very restrictive, of course, in this case, like your phone number has to be attached to your ID and so on. It's very different than how it is here in the States. And so what this means is, sometimes people feel obligated for whatever structures or status in order to add people from work and so on. And of course, the work group dynamic sometimes changes. We know that in the European Union, uh, it's in some countries it's illegal for employers to call uh, employees or workers after hours for any reason, not even an emergency. And so it's kind of interesting that that's kind of shifting in a way to deal with sort of how pervasive, our connection is to our job and to technology. And so people want to separate that. And so in those countries where your ID and your sort of phone print is put together, and they have to create sort of a way around that with a second application. So that way you have basically sort of just your work WeChat, and then now you'll have your personal WeChat. And so those things will be separate. And that'll be good, I think, for a lot of people to improve their work-life balance. And so this is why story is important for me. One, because it's technology. Two, it has basic information for those people in English that also need, how to figure out how to do this. So I think this is a good story. And also, it's on the exam for IELTS. We talk about work-life balance in the article I talked about as well. And so it can come up as a topic. So I think it's a good way. So they also talk about some other features here that are going also from OneTube. Notice that all of these are from OneTube dailies. That's why I subscribe to them because they usually have pretty good stories. And so I would recommend this one. This is from NeoTube. This is a sort of an unusual story, and sometimes I pick unusual stories more normally because that does catch people's attention, the headline and so forth, and it's also a story that probably a lot of people are familiar with for context, and so that's really useful, and so that's helpful to help students make connections, even though maybe the subject matter is not the best per se, depending on how old the students are. And so obviously I wouldn't use this on young students. This would be for adult students or academic students in this case because of the ethical questions. And so this presents a lot of discussion. And again, I'm not here to say right or wrong or agree, whatever else, but it's just used as a format in order to get students to understand how to think critically about this. And so it's again, it's a story. And it's got some components here, like screenshots of what comments were made. And so there's a lot of information to be taken out of this for discussion. If we talk about things about communication, about stories, about media, all those different aspects can be pulled out of a lesson like this. Talking about the legal system, talking about questions from the exam, dealing with things like laws, as far as how they reflect on society, those kind of things. So there's a lot of good critical material here. Difference between genders as far as is the law universal for men and women in whatever country. And so there's a lot of great information that can be pulled out of this. And so I was very, very pleased to see this here from NeoTube as well. Okay. So let me just pause this for just a moment, if you don't mind. And okay, so I did want to pause because now it is time for a word from the sponsor. And of course, we got to put it in there. Xinyan Kuaila, Sadan Fai Lo, right? Like, Happy Chinese New Year. And so it's great to be with old friends and old family. And so look forward to a prosperous new year, of course, in the year of the rabbit. So thank you, Aspire English, Aspire English. That wasn't enough of an advertisement there. So Elsie and Kelly are our partners there. So let's put that as our favorite. And so basically, I just wanted to put that in there as well, along with some of the other stories that we had from China. I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the other situation that may be coming up as far as some of the concerns. I was going to talk a little bit about some of the stories that were going on here, but as usual, things are in flux as always. And so we'll just have to sort of keep it together from that point on forward. All right. All right. Thank you very much. Take care.